When I say the words card games, what kind of games pop in your head? I'm kind of thinking like maybe War, or 21, or Blackjack, or anything like that. But did you also know that there are card games that don't just use playing cards? Yeah, that's right. There are games that that have their own specific cards for the game that they're going to play. And some of you have probably played some of them. But there is one that I have that is very special to me, and that is because the game itself actually restarted my interest in comics. Now that might seem a little strange, like, hey, wait, how does a card game do that? We'll get into that. And I know normally here at Matt's Minutes, we normally don't go too deep into my actual personal life here, but I think this might be a good story worth telling. So, do you have a minute to talk about my favorite card game of all time? Hello friends, and welcome back to the channel for another great exciting episode. So today, we are going to be talking about one of my favorite card games of all time, and just games in general, and that is DC Deck Builder. I love this game so much to the point that I have multiple different expansions of the game, including Heroes United and a couple others, but we'll get into those here in a second. So, the card game itself is DC superheroes themed, as I'm sure you could probably gather. However, it's not just the main trio of superheroes like Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman. No. There's many more than that. And there are different expansions of the game. So the one that I showed, Heroes United, is another expansion where you play as the heroes. But there's another one called Forever Evil, where you get to play as the villains instead of the heroes, in addition to Teen Titans, where you get to play as the Teen Titans. It's a really cool game, and I've been playing it for 7 or 8 years now. It's been a long time. And what's cool about it is, you do have the main game, and if you only want to play the main game, that's fine. You can buy the expansions if you want to, but you don't have to. Each one is its own standalone game. Though, if you are interested, they also have the Crisis expansions for each of the main decks, which, believe me, these are 100% worth it. Now, I don't have the Forever Evil Crisis yet, but I will get to that. So, why is this game so important to me? Why did it re-spark my interest in comics? Well, let's get into that story. It was a dark and stormy night in a cabin in the middle of Mississippi. It was raining, thunder everywhere. Yeah, that'd be a really great story for another time. But anyway, no, that is not the story of how it started. So, how it actually started was, I was going through kind of a rough patch, and one of my friends invited me to play a card game with his friends, and I was like, okay, sure. And so I go over there, and they bust out DC Deck Builder, and I'm like, what is this, and how do you play it? And so I was really confused, because I was the new guy in the group, but they were really nice and helped me learn the game, and I mean, we would play this pretty regularly. And then once the Crisis expansion came out, we all sat down and tried to play it and beat it. And it took us a while. Crisis isn't always easy, and actually sometimes it's pretty difficult. And so I started loving this game so much, and I got to the point where I wanted my own copy. Well, eventually I went back to Denton with one of my friends, and there's a bookstore there that I would love going into. And in there, they had this very copy of DC Deck Builder on sale. I don't know if you can see the sticker right there, for $12. 15, sorry. And normally this is a $40 game. So I'm like, ooh, what a steal. And I opened it up in there, and it had all the cards in pristine condition. It literally looked like someone had taken the plastic off of it and resold it. And so I was like, cool, I'm gonna get it. And so with my new deck in hand, I started teaching other people how to play this game. And it got to the point where I was playing this game so much that I remember one time with one of my friends, we were playing in Starbucks, and it got to be so late they kicked us out. So we continued playing the game in the trunk of my car at like 11 o'clock at night. It was awesome. And so what ended up happening is, by teaching my friend, it sparked my interest in wanting to learn more about these characters. Most of them I knew something about and knew quite a bit, at least with like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, but I was like, I don't really know that much about Green Lantern. Let me actually, look into this guy. And wow, there's not just one Green Lantern, guys. There's a lot of Green Lanterns. And so I started looking into comics and looking at videos on YouTube about going through famous comic stories, and it mostly started off with DC, and it was DC for a long time, but eventually it kind of grew into Marvel as well. But even to this day, it's predominantly DC. And I don't know, I loved what I was reading, and it basically became this thing where I would listen to comics on the way to work, on the way from work. I would read comics wherever I could. It was just good. I couldn't put these comics down. And I owe that all to DC Deck Builder and the YouTube channel Comicstorian. Benny, if you ever get around to listen to this, thanks a lot, man. You really helped me out a lot and did a lot for introducing me to comics as well. So that's the story on that. Now, what's really cool about the game is that on each one of the cards like this is an actual scene from a comic. I don't know which one off the top of my head, but all the cards have scenes from the comics. And so I would see these scenes and I'd be like, okay, this is kind of cool. Let's look into this a little bit. And I would just hear about like, oh, well, this one time Batman did go to Apocalypse and blah, 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 blah. Or Green Lantern did this and that and blah, 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 blah. And the more I researched comics and got into it, the more I discovered that the game itself is so well designed that it actually almost takes what's in the comics and applies it to a game, which I didn't know when I was playing it for the first time. It was just, oh, these are cool pictures, these are cool comics, there's some cool synergy, blah, blah, blah. But the more I played it, the more I realized like, oh yeah, Batman has this equipment which he does use to defeat this villain in this way and blah, like that's really cool. A lot of time and effort went into this game, and I love that they used the comics on the cards themselves. So that's why like just wanting to know more about the characters and the actual artwork on the cards is what inspired me to look into comics. And I was rewarded for doing so because I understood the game better the more I knew about the actual comics themselves, which I think is super cool that it's that rewarding. So if you look on screen right now, you'll see my box. Now keep in mind, I have the Multiverse expansion box, and I have quite a few expansions in here. So there's a lot more than just your standard deck. But it's really nice because if I'm gonna go play something, I can just pick up my Multiverse box and take it, and then when I get to where I'm going, then we can decide, hey, what game do we want to play from this box? Instead of just figuring it out ahead of time and then having to bring that specific deck and expansions for it or whatever. It's just, I bring all of it. We just decide at the time. It's really nice. Another thing to keep in mind is please don't ever touch my box. Ever. Or my cards. Seriously though, I am very particular about the way that my box is, and it's actually one of the most organized things that I own because of how much this game means to me. And, just over the years of playing it, over the friends that it's brought me, over my interest in comics being restored, it just means a lot. So I'm the one that sets everything up. I'm the one that puts everything away because they're my cards. I'm very particular about them. So that's why. But yes, I do love this game, and over the years, the last time I calculated, I think it was, I've taught over 20 people how to play this game. Over 20. That's a lot. That shows how many people I've played this game with, and I love it. The pandemic has made it a little bit harder to play in person because, you can't really play in person. So once things start getting back to normal, I would really like to, you know, get together and start playing again, because it's such a fun game. And if any of you guys ever want to try it, hit me up. I'd love to play it with you guys sometimes. I'd love to get a game going. So yeah, leave it in the comment section down below. Well guys, looks like our minute is up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I really do appreciate it. And if you have an idea for a minute, please leave it in the comment section down below. Also, I would love to hear of games that influenced you, because I think we all have these little things that, or maybe not games, just things that have had meaningful significance in your life and have kind of changed you as a person for the better. So I'd be interested to know what some of those are. Leave a comment down below to let me know what some of those are for you. And yeah, if you like this video, please give it a like. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out when you guys do that, and like the video and comment and all that stuff. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today for this little bit more personal video. And I will see you guys next week.